content. So please start commenting.
It is public on Facebook.
Checking.
Refresh YouTube.
Snake eater.
Don't start us on the snake eater business. And then early in the stream, I can see you connected to Facebook. No, someone else did.
Connected to YouTube actually. Facebook, I'm still waiting for it to appear.
Oh, there. I see you now. Well, I see a number. I'm assuming it's you. Hey, Urim!
Hey, Joe. Joe just liked it as well.
I don't think Joe actually viewed. Maybe Joe just liked it. We appreciate that too. Engagement is important on Facebook.
See, so we now have 2 monitors. It's nice and clean. Mine is blurry. So it's really my laptop.
Okay. That's because that's a mirror of my feed, not of the broadcast. So it's possible that it really...
Joe commented.
Yay!
Yes, thanks for loving our shirts. We miss you too.
We're at the dregs of our couple shirts, so now it's like shirts of a similar theme, but not necessarily exactly the same.
But it's what we still
But
use.
we pair them normally. So this is just an Old Navy Star Wars logo shirt. And Toby, you're going to have to stand up for the full impact of yours.
Not full stand up. I don't want to show everything.
Oh, yeah, because Toby did not dress up beyond that. Say,
that's okay.
Say face to face. Sit down. Although we think we have go away. Okay, we have one more pair of long sleeve shirts, and I think one more the video game shirts
and pajamas.
And now we have the pajamas. David on Twitter already asked, like, have we worn the pajamas shirts yet?
It was an episode, not yet.
No, they're brand new. We only received them this week.
They're quite new, thanks to my sister and her husband, JP and Tracy. But yeah, we are still waiting for the start of the show, so we're still hoping more people will join us.
My stream strength is bad.
YouTube, surprisingly, is silent, which is rare.
But, Saturday is weird. It's like, I think people are actually doing other things on Saturdays. Fridays, we tend to compete with different quiz nights.
True. Well, it's nice to know people are staying busy, despite the...
Staying busy at home.
Despite the lockdown, despite the overall stresses of daily life for whatever reasons, aggravated by the lockdown as well. People are still generally staying active, connecting with friends, doing stuff they love, or struggling to watch really terrible movies, or getting disappointed with horrible trailers.
Wait, we saved the intro for this episode when we started.
I'm sorry,
we can't talk about that.
We're not there yet.
I'm sorry. We need more formal discussion.
I'm sorry.
But we only have... It only says 4 viewers, which really means 2. Because the 2 of them are Toby. And then, so it's Jao and Urim. Thanks for hopping in. Ooh, I saw Rai liked...
Jao says, totally not Baduy.
Hey, we're Baduy in different ways.
Silent.
You can be Baduy and Yiki at the same time. We multitask. I'm on the phone again.
I don't know why.
I don't know why
you're multitasking a phone.
It's a why, man, because it's cool in the 90s. I'll just go back to this. Ooh, 5. So but they're all Facebook people.
So while waiting, what else can we just preamble?
Hey, Rai tuned in. Rai just launched a gaming stream page.
Ooh, what's it called?
Oh no, I can't remember the name.
So much for plugging.
I like the page, and then I have it, but I can't remember the name.
That's still better than me totally giving the
Yes, I'd rather say I forgot the name than people who say I'll name the competitor. Yesterday was embarrassing. I feel bad. I feel bad for our friend.
In return,
I used his service. Transportify is awesome. It helped us move our office into storage.
But who knows? Maybe love will bloom.
Oh, I don't know.
Booyah!
Wait, post quarantine.
Well, we'll find out based on the topics they'll suggest.
If things change,
what to do with a ghoster, or
I haven't seen.
Then we know it's something.
I haven't seen new topics, so there's definitely room for stuff.
What else? What else can we talk about real briefly?
Someone joined YouTube.
driving in the Philippines is still terrible. One gets stressed out, not really seeing good street signs.
And then Facebook is the YouTube person left. Okay, it's just someone who wandered in accidentally. And like, nope, it's not what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
That's okay. That is called the thousands of people who have liked my Obar videos and are confused as to why I don't have new Obar videos.
Mhm.
Instead, we have this.
And there's so much content out there nowadays, and a lot of people thrive on content by entertaining the viewer. They talk obnoxiously, they overemphasize their emotions only because it makes it more funny, more interesting.
Just allow me to buy time to now say that it's Jedi Meji Gaming. So there, I have completed the plug. Please look for
Thank you
Jedi
for the slight
Meji
advertising.
Gaming. It's a very new channel. So far it's been a lot of, I think, Among Us. That one.
Mhm.
We haven't played it.
Uh,
We should probably start. It's
but
9:02.
yeah, so
We have some people on Facebook. We have more people on Facebook today, and like one person on YouTube. Is someone there? If you're there, say hello. Oh, it's
Andre!
Andre!
So yeah, I guess now is a good time to start. Glasses on, 30 minutes timer,
Wait.
and
I got to put the title back.
we start. This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, our little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
That was a different delivery. This is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you for always sharing the stream, even if you don't always like it. I know who you are. But here's 30 minutes, and we're talking about...
Oh no. Wuxia and Wirefu. I'm sorry. We are in the guilty group of people who tend to say Wuxia, very Western of us, but we're trying to practice the proper pronunciation. But really, we don't claim to be experts. We are this video is a love letter to the genre and how we
Mhm.
celebrate it, and we wanted to separate Wirefu only because it's I keep saying this. It's a very math thing. It's like squares and rectangles. Not all wuxia involves wirefu. Not all wirefu is wuxia.
Mhm.
So I don't know. In this case, it's not even. It's more like parallelograms and rectangles.
And to even be more nitpicky about it, there are many films that are considered wuxia films that you should watch. But then there would be people who would say that doesn't count as wuxia,
Yes,
depending
yes.
on what are really expected of that.
And since we
genre.
don't claim to be experts on this, we're just going to talk about the
Them as a
movies
whole.
that fall into the general category that we love. And it's not just movies. Yeah, not just movies.
Not just movies.
But first, we have to talk about why did we think of this topic
So-
without being overly shady.
So there was a movie that we decided to try checking out,
Yes, a recent movie.
and we tried to be very positive, about it.
Open-minded. I wouldn't even say we're trying to be positive. We're trying to be open-minded.
We acknowledged that there were interesting changes to make it more relatable or more real,
And more historically relevant or accurate.
but then you can really tell that it wasn't an Asian director.
Yeah.
And-
Or even an Asian production team.
And I'm not even speaking of this in the sense of how some people feel that only, for example, people of a certain subgroup are able to really tell stories of that subgroup effectively.
That's
But more on, there are certain subtleties and attentions to detail or tropes that certain Asian directors do when it's specifically for this type of genre.
Yes.
And this movie, which by right wasn't even supposed to be a wuxia type of film,
But the way
tried-
that it was restyled was trying to be more wuxia.
then fails to do it because it just doesn't do it right.
And I'm looking at the comments, and I think some of the comments are relevant to the movie we're talking about, but we're still not going to say it on air.
Yes, all we're gonna say is yes, Zhao. It rains a lot.
It could be rainy. yes.
So with that disappointment, we ended up finding ourselves thinking about what we wanted the movie to have,
Yes.
or even better, what were examples of movies that did it well.
Because we try to keep Baduy Pride very positive, in the same way that our blog is just a celebration of our fun moments,
Mhm.
then this show is also trying to be celebrating things we like about certain things. So we'll talk about what we like instead of obsessing over how that movie could have been so much
Yeah.
better.
And again, spoiler shark warning. Some of the topics we'll talk about might have spoilers about them. Um, they've been around long enough though, so I hope they don't count the spoilers
But we
anymore.
respect that if you want to experience the movie in its entirety as a fresh experience, then you may wander into spoilers. Trust the shark. Okay.
So, with that, let's go talk about what we like and what we expect from the.
Yeah, I mean, okay, let's talk about the tropes, and then I guess wuxia is best, or at least most commonly appreciated as a movie genre.
Mhm.
And I used to have the Wikipedia page up. I closed it, but it talks about it's basically martial heroes.
Yes.
Is the translation?
So it literally means martial heroes. It comes from two main words. Xia, which is chivalrous, vigilante, or hero, and Wu, which is martial or military. It tends to have the wandering hero or the wandering swordsman as the main character, if one were to focus on the tropey approach.
Yeah.
But then it always has to do with the challenges between personal desire and duty, between responsibility and obligation. It always has that nice push and pull, dramatic inner
Mm-hmm.
turmoil, which is why it has a lot of unspoken love or love that can't be displayed or can't be
Because of duty or
Yes.
obligation that holds you back. I mean,
and then
that's
it also
good
has
drama.
the other tropes of whether it's the master who failed the student or the master who was killed and now the student must avenge and so on and so forth.
I like it. I like the genre because people fly. So I'm not even gonna go into story structure,
Mhm.
but I like the crazy, fantastical
Yes.
martial arts version where, hence the wirework reference, where you have people flying around all the time, and some of our RPG systems sort of codified it or at least helped us identify a term for it as Lightfoot.
Yeah,
You know, so-
there's that joy in seeing supernatural or out of this world moves. that
Yeah.
come up with the most outlandish combos or tactics or even the ways they fight. They find ways to make something as simple as eating noodles with chopsticks into a fantastic fight scene.
Yeah.
And that's what we love about the genre. It surprises you, it excites you, and at the same time, it still follows internal consistencies
Yes.
that make it still seem to have sense despite breaking
And
the laws of physics.
it's funny how Lightfoot, as depicted in wuxia movies, or whatever you want to call it, that tendency to fly and be able to make giant leaps and land on things with perfect poise, is like a flaw we see in a lot of computer animation, especially when it augments live action movies. When you know that there's something wrong with the gravity
Mhm.
of the 3D object, and it doesn't look like they land right and
Mhm.
the like. But in wuxia as a genre, it's so much fun and almost beautiful at times. And I guess for more accessible examples of this, we can look at the ones that got a lot of international popularity.
Mhm.
So we can go back to like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon or Hero. But then really, there's so many other movies before their release that have been mastering this art of filmmaking for years and years.
Now, once again, spoiler shark warning, we are not experts.
Yes.
We are not cultural experts. We are not researchers. If you want an in-depth understanding of the genre,
There are better
Officially.
channels to go to.
please go to other channels. Here, we are just talking about how we've encountered it, what we enjoy about it,
And that we think it's cool.
and hopefully, if we mention stuff that you haven't seen, you will find yourself encouraged to check them out.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if there are people who feel like it doesn't count as wuxia, then that's okay. I mean, we're not experts, but that we feel like it falls in that general category.
So just a few quick comments. Urim does mention Crouching Tiger, na hidden yung dragon.
Ooh, graceful crane.
Graceful
Yeah,
crane is
yeah.
another term. Hero is love, according to Mai. But yeah, when you talk about the genre, when you talk about because a lot of it started out as novels, as books.
Yes.
And you have everything from, oh my gosh, now my brain's blanking out, something water margin.
What? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm
I
so
like
sorry.
Warriors of Zoo. Or Zoo Warriors, which I think may be different movies. I'm just gonna name things at random when Toby can't remember things.
but yeah, from the early precedents, which had all these stories, the modern adaptations and movies include those. Some might have encountered it from an old TV series that had the Condor Heroes. No,
No bells.
I feel so sad that I'm struggling to remember things and no one can help me.
I still like Zoo Warriors. That was cool. The names were very metaphorical and abstract. Um, should we just move on to another genre?
No. It's all right. But yeah, so let's talk about each one and let's talk about why we love them.
Oh, okay,
So,
sure.
Zoo Warriors is tricky, admittedly, for the first thing for you to mention because there are two Zoo Warrior
Yeah,
movies.
I think I like Warriors of Zoo more than I like Zoo Warriors. Which is confusing to say.
One is an older movie than the other, and both dip their toes into another genre, which I think was Sanxia, which is the more if Wuxia is Knights of the Round Table, Sanxia is the Avengers.
Okay.
Wherein the powers and the moves are more out of this world, and that's where you go as far as I slash my
Yeah,
sword,
there was a lot of like
and
mountains.
and the
fall,
mountain
yeah.
splits in half, and that's what those have. But I loved the weapons in that movie. Everything from the Moonblade and the way they approach, despite the old CG approach of the floating skulls, the way they had that enemy that was just this frightening amalgam of moving things and so
Oh, the comments on Facebook, my site's Romance of the Three Kingdoms. We will come back to this because that epic has inspired so much fiction.
Yes.
And then other things, Once Upon a Time in China, yeah. Condor Hero celebrating. And then, of course, House of Flying Daggers. Yeah, that's another one. That was a good one.
So House of Flying Daggers was interesting because I didn't like it the first time I saw it. I guess I was coming from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Hero. So when I saw
And we
House
have
of
to talk
Flying,
about Crouching Tiger.
So when I
but we're
saw-
already 10 minutes into the episode.
when I saw House of Flying Daggers, I was annoyed that why is it so focused on this romance?
yeah. Because to be fair, Crouching Tiger was like to some degree a police procedural. I mean, there was a mystery to solve,
Mhm.
and then it had the pivot midway that we find out about the other
Yes.
subplot. So that was
And then
interesting.
Hero was basically another Rashomon story wherein you can't tell who's telling the truth. And that story
I
of
love
Nameless
that show.
speaking to the Emperor, then subcut with all the other
I
fight
did a
scenes.
color analysis
Yes.
essay on Hero Once Upon a Time and talked about how I love the one was obviously very passionate in the retelling and
Mhm.
emotional. One was more logical and cool, and thus blue, and it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. I love that movie. I super love the movie. But yeah, but then okay, we gotta take a moment to talk about Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Okay.
Because I think Crouching Tiger, as much as it's a slightly more modern example, but it's the most accessible, I feel,
Yes.
internationally. And it's just a good example because it also highlighted different fighting styles. And
Yes.
we use this reference a lot in our games. Like,
You could tell one was a personality who was focused on internal strength
Yes.
and endurance and force, while the other one was about fluidity and speed and lightness. And seeing them fight, you could feel the difference in their moves.
that first fight in pursuit of the stolen sword.
Green Destiny.
That fight at night was amazing because you could really see the differences in the styles between the thief and Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah,
Michelle Yeoh, right?
The protector. Of
Yeah,
the sword.
yeah.
She was tasked to watch over the sword.
She couldn't do full light foot. She couldn't fly.
So
But she'd clamber up the wall very awkwardly, but then she'll kick a roof tile to knock the other person down so that you can come
And at
back
the
to the
same
ground
time,
and fight.
despite the thief being defying gravity,
Yes.
that we're back. So we're expecting him to come back by then. But yeah, then when they have their main fight with the weapons in the training hall, and you see her going through the different weapons because the Green Destiny has now shifted the fight and allowing
Mhm.
Jin, the thief, to use her speed to her advantage with the weapon that destroys weapons. It was just such a beautiful, again, display of how they were different and yet, had similarities. My shares, I don't think I've tried any of the Zoo movies.
There
Aina,
was where's this there was a Star Movies that was only for Mandarin content, and that's
Mhm.
where I first watched it. And I don't know why my brother and I spent a lot of time watching movies late at night on Star Mandarin, and there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, so just so you know, it's Zoo Warriors from Magic Mountain, which is a 1980s movie. And then there's Zoo Warriors, which is a 2000 film.
I watched Zoo Warriors. Okay, there's the other way around. I watched the 2001.
Says Aina adds, I like Kung Fu Hustle, but not many weapons. Kung Fu Hustle was an amazing film as well. It had a very tight storyline. It had very great effects.
But then it was a good use of comedy and martial art, which I think is the Stephen Chow signature.
Mhm.
Like he played with that really well. We're more than halfway through. We gotta talk about other genres.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then apart from somewhat political reason, cartwheel on the horse. Yeah, and that was like it could have been smoother if we were talking about the same movie, which obviously we are not.
But yeah, so in terms of movies, there's a lot of great ones out there, and of the recent ones that came out, I would dare say look for Shadow. Shadow is a recent movie that came out that utilizes visual play as well with the light and shadow. They have these weapon umbrellas. I don't know how to describe them more, but they're metal umbrellas that are used as weapons
I
that
have
are
not seen this.
amazing.
You have to make me watch this.
The Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon sequel.
Wasn't bad. It was okay on Netflix.
Yeah.
It was okay, but not as solid a story as the original Crouching.
Mhm.
But definitely a good sequel. We're looking at an IMDb list right now. That's why
Yeah.
we're looking off to the left.
And yeah, so let's move beyond movies. Beyond movies, if you're not content with just watching and you'd like to actually experience,
I'm not sure what
or-
examples are going to cite
Maybe.
here. I'm very excited.
then we can slide into games.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about TV.
Oh, TV first. Okay.
Okay.
Well, TV is the Return of the Condor Heroes. That was one of the more popular shows that came out early on.
Okay.
Later shows have the Western show, which, oh man, okay, great. The name now vanished in my head.
I like Cobra Kai. It's not Wuxia, but good martial arts and great 80 celebration. Well, Toby's trying to remember. I'm trying to think of like what other TV shows have we watched.
The Badlands.
What?
Into the Badlands.
Unfamiliar.
It was that Americanized show that tried to have wuxia tropes. They're in a apocalyptic setting, and
I haven't watched this.
Okay,
This may be fall into the category of things we may have not watched together. Because I can't remember Wuxia series that we watched together.
and then there's a lot of romance types that are out there as well. Handsome Siblings, Laughing in the Wind, Dragon Heroes.
Will people in the
Chinese
comments save
Family.
us and suggest TV shows that you want to celebrate also?
Yeah,
Shadow.
Yeah, they're more
They're
talking
trying to
about the
figure
stuff
out-
we mentioned. But yeah, so TV has nicely been exploring these.
I miss, which I never got to fully appreciate and understand, that old like the puppet wirework stuff that would play on TV on Sunday morning. Those examples of like the wuxia puppets. I don't know the names.
Thunderbolt Fantasy.
Oh, okay.
Thunderbolt Fantasy was the wuxia puppets that were just amazing because at some point, I guess they got even more daring with the special effects
It's
they
the
come up with.
Thunderbirds of wuxia.
Yes. They combine super awesome moves with special effects, and they tend to
And
have.
some practical effects. I mean,
Yes.
it's not like CG.
It's not just
stuff.
all CG.
Yeah, so good stuff. I'm a sucker for puppets because I also like the Thunderbirds. But okay, I think we should spend the rest of the episode talking about games because we're gonna need more time because we love the games. I've changed the caption.
So-
Toby, begin.
With games, so there's digital and there's analog.
We can do very briefly digital.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna spend more time on analog.
Yes.
So probably not a perfect example of like wuxia as a genre, but we super love Dynasty Warriors. And Dynasty Warriors as a game franchise is I will loosely based on Romance of the Three Kingdoms,
Hmm.
only because with every progressive generation of the game, the characters just get crazier and crazier, and they keep dredging up like more background characters
Hmm.
to turn into
Main
mainline
characters.
characters with strange weapons. But
You will
Dynasty
you'll
Warriors.
always still play through the same story arc. At some point, you will play through the
You must start with the Yellow Turban
Yes.
Rebellion, and,
And
then,
then-
battle at the Hulao Gate,
and
and
then
then the three brothers will make their pledge in the garden.
and then at that point, somewhere in the gameplay, you will experience being totally afraid the moment Lubu shows up.
Lubu! All these things, and then oh my god! But in terms of like that game series is great when you want to kill hundreds upon hundreds of mooks, and you want to feel like you are an awesome hero of the nation of China.
It's an awesome
Yes.
game if you want to have the fun of just coming up with different moves. It has a simple enough control system that it makes you feel you're awesome because you come up with all these combinations, which change depending on each character.
And it's not like a straight up button masher, although you
Mhm.
can get away with button mashing.
Mhm.
But there is a degree of strategy, and they've added slight but they've kept the system very simple for the most part.
Mhm.
So we always go back to that. Good job. Was that Koei? Koei, who I feel like has made so many different games based on the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. They have literally a game called Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which was like a weird strategy game, but awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Any other computer game you want? I see you're looking at Wikipedia.
Well, there was Jade Empire, which I never got into. Did you ever get into Jade
no,
Empire?
no, I did
But
not.
Jade Empire for a while was the game that many were celebrating as the game that captured that sort of a feel. I know there's a recent game coming out called Spellbreakers, which is not Wuxia at all, but many are saying if you miss
It's
Avatar.
already out, isn't it? People are already.
Oh yeah, I think it's September 3. But yeah, if you miss Avatar, if you always wanted to play, a
We're
game
so
that
in
made you feel
tune
like
with the game
Korra,
scene.
then that's the game you can check out. There's a very old Nintendo game that I do connect to Wuxia, which it probably isn't accurate, but it's Legend of Kage.
I'm not sure, but I'm sure it's another ninja.
It's a game wherein
Because we have so many computer games with ninjas named Kage.
you run around and you have enemies fighting you, and you leap across trees as you try to survive long enough to beat the boss. It was one of the few games that gave me the freedom of movement that I relate with the genre so well. And it didn't have that many moves, but then again, that was during the Nintendo. Can we rename this episode as Better Martial Arts Movie than that remake, according to
Because we're
Andrew?
not naming the remake, so I don't know. It's a
I
conundrum.
don't know. Only because I don't think it was a martial arts movie.
Ooh, that's true. To compare would to acknowledge it being martial arts, which we do not.
And it was closer to a Star Wars movie than a martial arts movie.
Why are you
if
saying
ask
this? Are you trying to hurt me as I wear this shirt?
me. No, it's just because it suddenly made
It's pop media
It suddenly made,
fantasy.
Ki and Chi, whatever, however you are supposed to pronounce it. I always forget the right one. But it turned it into this. It's everywhere and it moves the universe, but only certain people
You're
are
trying
allowed
to
to use it.
compare it to the Force.
And
I see now.
Whereas in actual Wuxia, it's about discipline. It's about cultivation. It's
Mm.
about learning to find that inner nirvana. It's mastering your emotions. So here, it's suddenly, some people have it because you are blessed by the
Let's talk
universe.
about tabletop games that we like that celebrate this genre. Yay.
Okay, that is a very tight list.
Yeah, but it's a list that we have explored a little heavily over the course of our gaming career. So things go back, of course, to the oh my god, crazy! Why did we love this game? Weapons of the Gods. Weapons of the Gods is a tabletop RPG system based on a comic book series that I have never read,
Yes.
but the
A manhwa series. I
but the
remember
source
that.
book will give you more than a taste of the fiction of this world because the system is hidden amidst the stories from the comics. It is a difficult RPG book to read,
Mhm.
but the system in itself was beautiful in many ways. And it allowed you to be these great heroes of destiny.
It used a Wuxia action system wherein You roll dice,
Wuxia.
and by gathering dice of the same number, you create
D10s.
sets.
Yeah.
So if you had 5 threes, then you have 35. If you had 7 threes, then you had. Okay, I got lost. If you have 5 threes, you had 53, and you have 7 threes, you have 73. There you go. I got.
No, doesn't the place? I forget. I forget.
And it also had what they called the
That's right.
river,
That's right. That's right. That's right.
wherein you could choose to set aside dice.
So you don't use it in your current
Yeah.
roll. You store it in the river, and
And
then later
later-
you can release the river.
And the dice that you stored, let's say you've been accumulating eights,
Yeah.
and you have 6 eights already set aside. And then in a later fight scene,
Your river is too big.
you rolled 3 eights, then you can add the 6 to the 3, and now you have 9 eights. So that's an awesome roll.
So it's a 98.
It also had the system wherein lore sheets came into play.
Yeah, which we've started to see in other games where you could purchase a lore sheet. Oh, you entangle your destiny with someone else. So, for example, you meet an NPC, and then you purchase the related lore sheet for that NPC.
Mhm.
Then it becomes part of your story. Or you want to play a female character, then there's a lore sheet for like the way of the woman or the path of the or it's
Mhm.
the woman's life, which is difficult for being a martial arts hero as a woman in this particular period setting. So you have to struggle against society's role,
Mhm.
and it gives you story.
The beauty of that lore sheet system was that it gave the players the narrative control. Wherein, let's say during the game you had this major fight, and the NPC was this unknown person with a hood who mastered this new martial art style, and you realize who is this mystery person. At the end of that session, you can simply go, guys, is it okay if that person turns out to be my brother? I'll
Yeah.
buy the lore sheet and I'll make it my brother, but I still don't know. So GM, you can bring that in when you want to. And it's that nice level of control as a player that you can go, okay, I want to buy this. I want to experience the problems of pregnancy.
Yes.
It sounds funny, but it's an amazing device that, the GM doesn't have to try to loop you into a story.
or
And
doesn't have to handle writing everything.
Yes.
That the players are encouraged to contribute to the story, to make things complicated for their characters, because that's what creates a lot of nuances and drama that we see in popular fiction. And the system did have a spiritual successor RPG system called Legends of the Wulin,
yes.
which had a more organized book, but still had confusing bits. But I think it really fleshed out this whole entangling destiny element. The experience system, admittedly, is a little complicated because you're tracking like different types of XP.
Mhm.
If I remember correctly.
Yes.
But the same thing that it gave a lot. I think the Weapons of the Gods had very fixed lore sheets that you could purchase, and then Legends of the Wulin then let you be more generic. Like, I want to entangle my destiny with that NPC,
Mhm.
and then let's see what happens. And then you could give conditions that may linger later on. Like we had these mooks that you think that they were throwaway, you'd never see them again. But then because I gave one, I determined that one had asthma
Mhm.
because I was a doctor, and I diagnosed him during the fight, and
It became a major
it
plot
became
point.
a thing, and he kept coming back. And then I would now use attacks that would disrupt him and give him asthma
Or
attacks.
at some point you were wondering who was behind an action, and then when the witnesses claimed, "Oh, he seemed to be breathing heavily,"
the Dong brothers.
and
It's the asthmatic guy.
it has that effect. It makes the players, insert these little seeds that tell the story forward. Another system would be Exalted. I know
To be
Exalted
fair,
has gotten some heat as to how it feels like it tried to mix all this and that, but in many ways, that's also what makes it great. In the earliest incarnations of Exalted, it was trying to be a martial arts kung fu
Dragon Ball.
game. Later, as they continued to write it in the later volumes, in the later editions, it started to expand and pull more from Gilgamesh, from the other mythologies.
All these epic heroes.
So
brought together.
the current amalgam feels very modern day Final Fantasy in the sense that, we have some Norse gods here, we have some Asian gods here, we'll mix a bit of sci-fi and mecha, and well, here's your game. Exalted has you playing, the Exalted, which comes in very many flavors depending on the type of Exalt you are. Solar Exalted are chosen by the Unconquered Sun, who has long been missing in
Mm-hmm.
action. And in fact, the current civilization now knows you to be the dark, evil, demonic things, the anathema.
Okay.
Then you have the dragon blooded, which are the more common terrestrial heroes in the story. But if you're playing a solar exalted focused game, they are the antagonists.
Mm.
And it's still using something similar to the storyteller system since it is a White Wolf game.
Yeah.
Which
Or at least
means
started as a white
a
wolf.
lot of d10s, a lot of dice rolls, and
I love how a lot of these systems ended up being D10 systems. I don't
Mhm.
know. It just happened that way. And I think between these, at least like this initial three examples, are great games that do make you feel epic as a player, because the more D10s you gather, the more awesome things you can do. And whether it's the set system of Legends of the Wulin or just sheer D10s gathered and exalted, then it really makes you feel like you are that epic hero.
Yes.
And I think that's what I, especially as a player, look for in a good system that celebrates the genre, that
Yes.
makes you feel like it's a wuxia
Yeah.
game.
In many times, the best way to celebrate the genre is to recognize the tropes that make the genre what it is. You can't celebrate, for example, an Arthurian story unless you have a Merlin who might be scheming, manipulating things in the background.
And is distrusted by all knights at the table.
If you can't really have a Merlin story, it always catches me off guard.
Quackers!
Unless you have, that sort of magic in the narrative. And I know there is sometimes a pushback in the sense that a lot of these genres either have become very stereotypical or have become very questionable in terms of how they relate to modern day. But I feel that, the fact that the genre is that genre means it's not meant for anything else but that entertainment value.
Yeah, it's in the end, it's a fictional world. It's a fantasy
Mhm.
setting. It may not be entirely accurate. It has evolved beyond the traditional text or the stories that inspired it. I wouldn't even say based on. And it's a creature unto itself, and it's still a lot of fun. It's still so much fun. Yeah. What else? What else? Ooh.
I guess to end, it's nice to see that there are still attempts to approach the genre and approach it, whether in gaming or in different media. And it's funny how you sometimes see things, I guess you could say, flipping backwards in terms of trying to connect to the past, but then give it a modern spin. So, like, for example, we have the Alita Battle Angel movie.
The new one?
Yeah. Which is, it uses a lot of CG.
Yeah.
But if you look at the original comic books, it seemed to draw a lot from almost wuxia inspirations, because you had this lone warrior searching for inner balance,
Yes.
struggling against romance, but wanting to follow her duty. And then later on, realizing that she might not be who she is. The fight scenes in the comic were incredible. A lot of impossible spins, running across a chainsaw-like razor finger, and stuff like that. And the comic, tried to capture all that, and then with the movie adaptation, it sorta is trying to do that, but still not, because it still also is trying to be more accessible to the modern audiences.
But that wasn't a bad adaptation as far as like different manga anime adaptations we've seen. I mean, yeah. We're not going to name those other ones, but yeah.
We're not gonna name that one with earth, fire, air, and water, and just went no.
Or that that white woman who keeps playing Asian roles.
Or that other one wherein it was supposed to be about the balls of that reptile, but then it turned into, yeah.
I may have mentioned that show, that franchise in this episode. That's all I'm going to say. So yeah, this is still ultimately wuxia, wire fu, all these things to some degree. Maybe some of the gun fu stuff
Yes.
are fun genres that we celebrate because it is crazy, ridiculous action on a different level that doesn't necessarily require buckets of blood and
Mhm.
violence.
Mhm.
It's really about I don't know. It pushes martial arts to a whole new sublime
Mhm.
level almost.
And for me, it also does not forget the inner innate quality that these warriors have.
Yeah.
They're not meant to be the chivalrous knights we know from European culture. They're not, they're not Arthurian. They're not um, idealistic perfect. They're human. They're struggling with finding balance. They're struggling with needing justice, but embracing mercy. They're they're flawed, and in their flaws, they become superhuman in choosing to still deal with what they have to.
Wow. That was poetic.
I have my moments,
You do also make games, so things
but
like that.
that was 30 minutes,
That was 30 minutes.
and we've had a lot of fun. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we hope that you'll join us next time.
And there I go again, trying to find my freaking captions. Okay, if you have questions for us or suggestions for future episodes, feel free to fill out the form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. You can follow us on Twitter, all Toby No Shade, and RG Sunico.
You can also follow us on our website. That's baduypride.com. You'll see all our old episodes, pictures, photos. That's the same thing, and snippets of our life.
Some would argue it's not. It's like movies and film, things like that. Okay, so yeah, feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and let us know what you think about wuxia as a genre and all these wire fu stuff. Like, what are wuxia franchises you like? What games you think deserve a little more love because given that what they do for you? That's cool. Be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss out our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. Okay, now you're going to have to come closer. All right.